What fan theory do you 100% accept as true? Kermit caused 9/11, not really much of a fan theory though since it's unintentionally canon. Andy's parents are in the middle of a divorce when the first Toy Story is taking place. Willy Wonka knew what he was doing. There was no seat for Augustus aboard that boat. He knew Augustus Gloop would fall in there. Courage the dog is exaggerating normal occurrences into scary things cause he's a dog. Scooby-Doo is a show about draft dodgers during the Vietnam War. Barney from How I Met Your Mother isn't actually as much of a womanizer as Ted says he is. Ted's an unreliable narrator and could have presented this image of Barney to his kids either because he was jealous of Barney's relationship with Robin, or because he wants Barney to look unsuitable for her. That way, Ted's kids see Ted and Robin as soulmates. The real world in the Matrix movies is just another layer of the Matrix, designed specifically to appeal to people unwilling to conform to the normal matrix. Humans in this outer matrix have confirmation of their belief that something was wrong, and get to indulge in the fantasy of being a heroic freedom fighter against the faceless evil machines, thus choosing to accept this false reality. The anomaly of the one is that he's capable of rejecting both realities, which is the reason why he had powers in the real world. The Last Airbender is not, as many have suspected, meant to be a big screen version of the TV show of the same name. It is, in fact, a subtle but clear adaptation of the show's episode The Ember Island Players, in which a poorly informed in-universe theater troupe recap the events of the series in an inaccurate and comedic style. Mr. Bean is an alien. That would explain his weird behavior and why he falls out of the sky at the beginning of every episode. This was a Reddit post a while ago actually, but the theory was, in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke tells R2 to stay in the ship at various times, he doesn't stay put, because the last person to tell him that was Anakin and he never came back. Inception Leonardo's wedding ring is his totem, not the spinning top. If you watch, he only wears it in dreams, never takes it off or puts it on, and no one ever touches it. The top was Mal's and doesn't work for him, which is why he always picked it up before a full spin. James Bond's primary purpose is to be a distraction to keep attention off the spies who actually spy. Villains and other spies know him. He rarely takes an alias, he makes his presence known early on and keeps messing up operations for the villains, but other spies have already infiltrated their ranks and work while Bond does as much visible damage as possible to keep the others safe. Bikini Bottom is a nuclear bomb testing site, which is why the fish have legs. My own theory that in The Office when Andy proposes to Angela, the people playing his parents are different actors because they are literally actors. As in, he hired them to pose as his perfect parents because his own parents couldn't be bothered to come. The people in the season 9 episode Garden Party are his real parents, who clearly are DKS. The Jetsons and the Flintstones are living at the same time in a dystopian future where the haves live above the clouds and the have-nots are stuck on a wasted Earth. The signs include that Flintstones celebrate things like Christmas and other holidays, which doesn't make sense, and the Great Gazoo alien appears in both series. The velociraptors in Jurassic Park were genetically modified to be larger so they would bring more visitors. The Paw Patrol pups are part of a post-AI initiative attempting to train enhanced, but subservient, companion animals to replace the robots that almost destroyed humanity. Everyone in Adventure Bay/Foggy Bottom/ etc. are paid actors who place the pups in coordinated training exercises. Which is why Mayor Humdinger gets away with all his bullshit. Parenthood has melted my brain. Joker from The Dark Knight was former military CIA, which explains his skills in weapons and interrogation, as well as that comment about the truck full of soldiers. Padme died because Darth Sidious used her to save Anakin. George R.R. Martin is having a difficult time finishing A Song of Ice and Fire because the fans already guessed everything and has forcing himself to change up the story. Bill Cipher is still alive inside Stan Pine's mind after the ending of Gravity Falls. The clues leading to this conclusion, from fans, were so complex. They actually involve traveling to real locations and solving puzzles. Peter Pan kills any lost boy that grows into adulthood. Captain Hook and his pirates are all lost boys that have escaped and aim to stop him. Sean Connery, John Patrick Mason, in The Rock was actually 007 who was captured while conducting espionage in the USA. After the events of the last Bond film with Connery, Diamonds Are Forever, then imprisoned at Alcatraz. Caillou is a cancer patient. There's no other explanation for why his parents put up with the little shit and his incredibly terrible behavior. Pepe Sylvia is just Charlie trying to pronounce Pennsylvania. Dennis Reynolds is a serial killer. That Bran in fact did not have the best story. The reason each It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode starts with a date and time is because they're all testifying against each other in court. House died in the fire in the final episode. The last 10 minutes where he rides off into the sunset with his best friend Wilson are his final hallucination. In Disney's Ratatouille, the old lady in the beginning of the movie living in the house next to the river is the food critic, Anton Ego's mother. In the flashback scene where he eats the ratatouille you can see similarities of the house from the beginning, her face and I think the bridge. Kevin from The Office is secretly involved in a money laundering scheme. I can't imagine a guy as smart as him saying so dumb otherwise. Doctor and Rose in the parallel world are perfectly happy with each other. Event Horizon is a prequel to the Warhammer 40k universe. Avatar: The Last Airbender takes place on a much smaller planet with lower gravity. This is why all of the characters can jump double/triple their height and fall multiple stories without grievous injuries. Pinky is the genius. Even the theme song hints at the theory. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're Pinky and the Brain. Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon and Hello by Katy Perry are retellings of the same incident viewed from opposite sides. A tragic miscommunication where Katy thinks that she is being explicit that she isn't into him and just came to dance, and Nicholas is interpreting everything she says as a heartfelt declaration of love and imagining they're alive together. Tylee is a non-bender descendant of air nomads. That the book Rory writes in the Gilmore Girls revival is the original show. That explains why the characters are so different from the show versus revival miniseries. She's looking back at the past with rose-colored glasses. King of the Hill, Dale knew about Nancy and John Redcorn, but feigned ignorance. Both to keep his home life stable, and because he knew Joseph would be raised as his son rather than Redcorn's. Zion is a part of the Matrix. At the end of The Thing, MacReady has gasoline in the whiskey bottle. He made all the bottles into Molotov cocktails. He knew he was going to die with The Thing, or likely from it, so there was no reason for him to save an entire bottle of just whiskey on his person when that could have been another weapon. At the end, he offers the bottle to Childs, who drinks it as if nothing was wrong. The Thing wouldn't know what whiskey tastes like, and reveals Childs as being replaced. MacReady even gives a smirk after he drinks from the bottle. The only way to get into Gryffindor is to want to get into Gryffindor. All the other houses are specific traits, where Gryffindor is primarily about bravery. The bravery you need to get in is the bravery to want to be in Gryffindor. Also adds up with Harry being Slytherin Y, Hermione and McGonagall being Ravenclaw Y, and Ron and, if you ask me, Dumbledore being Hufflepuff Y. If anyone is a natural-born Gryffindor that we see, it's Cedric, and he's a Hufflepuff. I'd argue it's 'cause he didn't want to be Gryffindor. Sebastian from Stardew Valley is a natural redhead. Spinach is just a front. Popeye is on steroids. Peach is totally into being kidnapped. No one who isn't doesn't have that little security. Mrs. Frizzle from the Magic School Bus is a Time Lord hiding from the Time War. The bus is a TARDIS with a working chameleon circuit. Much like the Doctor, she has a strange affinity for humanity, but instead of traveling across time and space preventing disasters, she teaches a class of 5th graders for reasons. Dumbledore was really deaf, since he at one point had all 3 of the Deathly Hallows and Harry was able to greet him as an old friend. Squilliam plot every Squilliam-inspired episode. He doesn't actually have a band to play with, he just did that to embarrass Squidward. He doesn't actually teach a prestigious music school, he just did that to get Squidward arrested. His clique aren't his actual friends, they're paid actors to piss off Squidward. Whether Squilliam is jealous of Squidward for continuing to follow his dreams and having real friends rather than abandoning them to make money, or they were once lovers. I prefer both. Miguel and Tulio may not be gods, but the armadillo that follows them around absolutely is. It's just helping them out because they saved it from being eaten. The secret ingredient is crab meat. Robb Stark died twice, first in his own body, and second in Grey Winds. He had a chance to see Arya moments before his death. That Dora the Explorer is visually impaired. She needs the viewer's help to see something that's literally 3 feet away from her, and she doesn't look at things directly. The Empire Strikes Back. Admiral Ozzel is a rebel spy. Everything Ozzel does in his brief bits of screen time is to the detriment of the Empire. When the probe droid finds the rebel shield generator, Ozzel tries to dismiss it as smugglers before Pete speaks out of turn and gets Vader involved. Later, Ozzel orders the fleet out of hyperspace too quickly, giving the rebels plenty of time to activate the aforementioned shield generator that Ozzel knew about. Clumsy as he is, stupid or rebel sympathizer who gave his life to give the Alliance as much time to evacuate their base as possible? I side on the latter. I 100% believe the 2 men accompanying the woman in the original Blair Witch Project planned and successfully executed a plan to murder her while they were deep in the woods. Too many factors point to good old-fashioned murder than a supernatural occurrence. Kevin from Home Alone grows up to be Jigsaw from Soul. So dumb, but amuses me. I 100% believe George Lucas' initial plan for the prequels included some form of the Darth Jar Jar theory. I think after the incredibly negative fan reaction to Jar Jar after TPM came out, he changed his plans. I think Dooku took over the role that Jar Jar was originally intended to have. Dumbledore was manipulative and intentionally left Harry to be raised in an abusive household so he would be trusting of anyone who showed him kindness and would be easier to manipulate. The town from Footloose is the same town from Tremors. The ban on dancing wasn't a puritanical attempt to control the youth. The town elders were aware of the graboid threat, and banned dancing out of the fear that it would cause rhythmic vibrations waking up the creatures sleeping below the town. Kevin Bacon's character in Footloose stayed in the town, growing up to be his character in Tremors, at which point he has to try and contain the danger he inadvertently released. Red Alert 1's Allied victory results in the Red Alert 2/3 universe. Red Alert 1's Soviet victory leads to the Tiberium universe. Debunked by the writers themselves. But that's how it'll always be for me. That Loki was controlled by the Tesseract more than he let on. His eyes glowed multiple times and he shed a tear when Thor tried to talk sense into him. The Mad Max films do not take place in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, it's just that's what happens when a bunch of Australians get lost in the desert. Ant-Man could have stopped Thanos by crawling into his ass. I have one of my own. Buffy's mother Joyce's brain aneurysm occurred indirectly because of Dawn, not through magic or anything directly supernatural. But she was Dawn's mother and therefore she would have the most artificially created memories, conception, pregnancy, life, thoughts, fears, etc. This caused so much real physical change to her brain overnight, that it created real medical problems and killed her. This is never hinted at all in the show. The show Johnny Bravo is being shown from Johnny's perspective. In reality he looks nothing like that, which would explain why he never gets any girls despite the fact that he's buff and good looking. I know his personality is completely self-absorbed but for some reason I like this explanation better. Moana dies in the thunderstorm. After that, she only meets gods and mystical creatures the rest of the movie. She still must complete her journey to return the heart of Te Fiti, and when she does Te Fiti brings her back to life so she can go back to her tribe. Rick is Morty, and evil Morty is just a Morty that knows he'll become Rick if he doesn't deviate. Rick said I used to wear blue pants and when he's drunk he asks for redheads. Morty likes redheads. Can't think of other coincidences off the top of my head but I rewatched some of those episodes under that context and it made sense. The monsters in Courage the Cowardly Dog are regular people but seem monstrous from Courage's perspective, since he's cowardly. Also they live in the middle of nowhere because his owners never take him out so that's how he views the world. Game of Thrones was torpedoed by its directors. They deny it but wow does it look like they bailed for a Star Wars role they didn't even get. Also that Legend of Korra was run rough by Nickelodeon, and that we don't have anything more than comics from the Avatar universe because of them. The abrupt ending of The Sopranos is because Tony was assassinated. Scooby snacks are actually just edibles and Shaggy/Scooby are really fucking high the entire time. When the Red John suspect list came down to 7 names and Laurel Ayer cited the names, only McAllister had a prefix, sheriff, and not any other name. This shows he had a narcissistic personality which was a well-known trait of Red John. Regular show is an acid trip. In Half-Life 1, one of the lines the scientists say is "Do you know who ate all the donuts?" It was Gordon Freeman. That's why he doesn't talk. He doesn't want to risk anyone smelling his donut breath, or, alternatively, his mouth is just constantly stuffed with donuts. Ash Ketchum doesn't age because when he saw Ho and the rainbow in the first episode, it granted his wish of becoming a Pokémon master, thus making him not age at all. Walter White didn't die. He got up, called the vacuum salesman and became Hal from Malcolm in the Middle. Willy Wonka is a wizard living in the Muggle world. Palpatine used Padme's life force to save Anakin. Harry Potter ended after the last book was written. Mad Max and Waterworld take place at the same time on different parts of the same post-apocalyptic planet. They're just unaware of each other's existences. That the courier in Skyrim is a novice mage and uses the clairvoyance spell to find the Dragonborn. Not sure if it qualifies, but Barney's How I Met Your Mother theory about the Karate Kid and how Cobra Kai came to be. Each Winnie the Pooh character is based off a mental illness. I have a fan theory about fan theories. All the theories where children's media has dark secret meanings is because some adults feel ashamed to watch or read children's media. So they come up with these theories that those things actually have a deep hidden message or things like only adults will notice these things and so they're justified in enjoying them. Doofenshmirtz is Phineas and Candace's father. The reason Voldemort's spell backfired when trying to kill Harry was that he broke an unbreakable vow when he killed Lily, after promising Snape that he would